it's me, Aiden, from Cartoon Apocalypse, and welcome back. Hopefully that didn't cut off. I swear if that cut off, I'm gonna be mad. But, welcome back to another page-turner episode. Why did my... I've been having issues today, so don't mind that. Anyway, this is going to be the recap stream and episode for the week, so this Tuesday... there will be no episode because what I'm going to do is I'm just going to time code this stream versus, making a recap for the recap because that just doesn't make too much sense. So, yeah. And this might be a little bit different because of, we're just going over the stuff that we've already talked about. So it's not really like, we're discussing stuff. So it's going to be a little bit more interesting. And why does I don't know. My webcam wasn't working. My stuff isn't working well. Am I too loud? I don't know. I feel like everything's just... it's bad when things aren't going in your favor. Okay, so time codes should be down in the description if you're watching this as a video, or the comments as well. I don't know exactly how that will work, but it will. But today... the internal team, mostly Mr. Fruit, so thanks so much for putting the stock together, because it really is a big help, and, yeah, so we've put together this document, and we're going to be going through basically a recap of the entire series so far. So, yeah, let's see, I think that's the right one. Hopefully, you guys can see all this, right? So, I think... First, the way that this is going to work is we're going to be going over there's a bunch of different sections. You can see these, right? So we're going to be going over these different sections, and after each section, we will do a Q&A, so you guys can ask questions if we forgot to add something to the document that we had talked about before, and you're like, well, what about this? And so that's sort of how this is going to format. Is my sound low? Hopefully the sound isn't low. Okay, so are you gonna repost it? No, I wasn't really planning on reposting it. It's just I'm just gonna say I don't even think I'm gonna make a video for this upcoming Tuesday, because this is the video, so people are just gonna be watching this because I don't think we're gonna have much time left over after this. So it's just gonna be like, you can't really make a recap for a recap because then you'd be leaving things out of the original recap. So yeah. Okay, so we are going to be getting into the characters now, and I'm trying to keep time codes so that way it's a little bit easier. So it looks like we are about 3:30 on the time code section. So I'm just going to put that up there. Okay, so we're going to start off, artwork by Raw Linux, so thanks so much. Love the artwork. So yeah. Let's just go ahead and start off with Luna here. This is the main character number 1. Luna is shy but charismatic because of her unconditional compassion for others and ability to see the potential in them. She is methodical in her thinking, quick-witted, and confident inside, but is weak at the moment when it comes to affirming herself and is hesitant to follow through with her decisions. Actually surprised I got through that whole paragraph because I'm terrible at reading out loud. Okay. Luna has a see, I told you I would mess up. Luna has a knight's heart and an adventurer's spirit. Her parents run a small house cleaning business and just assume that Luna would like a simple life with them. Her parents don't consider that she might want to follow something more. Luna studies at Brynor Prep in history and folklore to appease her parents, but wishes to study in knighthood and chivalry. When Luna was just a child, Blake rescued her while she was trying to complete a quest. Now, it's like one of those things where it's like a kid, like, oh man, I'm going to go do this quest because I totally can, but you can't. Now with Blake, a former knight, as her teacher, she can still learn the basics with his help. Brynor Prep, like all schools in Brynor, has a uniform that Luna chooses to wear at all times as an excuse to not wear her dress that her parents want her to wear. Okay. So, I think we're going to save all of the character questions for the end. I mean, there are quite a few characters, but, I don't know. I feel like just saving all of the questions for the end would just be better, and then we can we can revisit them afterwards. Okay. Nico, main character number 2, from Earth. I should have mentioned Luna is from Ilaria. Nico's from Earth. Nico is a daredevil that loves to test his limits and run straight into danger with his total self-confidence. As a child, he lost his eye in an accident. Although that, okay, I should also mention everything on this document and everything about this show is subject to change, and a lot of things that we are talking about here will likely change, 15 episodes down the line when we do the next recap episode / stream. So just wanted to point that out. Okay. Ever since he has wished to experience the same thrill as he did in that moment. Nico, being the danger-seeking daredevil that he is a part of a parkour and skateboard group called the Irish Eyes, which is run by his friend Adam. This is one of the few ways he can experience a thrill close to what he felt that day. He even dresses like an anime character. However, between Xavier being overly protective at home, getting into trouble with his teachers at school, and his group not being dangerous enough outside of school, Nico finds it difficult to fit in anywhere. Introduce Luna, the mystical being from a fantastical world. Her pleasant nature is a welcome contrast to Xavier's constant berating. Nico's infatuation with Luna's world turns to Luna herself, keeping him up all night talking with her through the notebook. Aw, isn't that sweet? So, yeah, that is Nico. Nico and Luna, the two main characters. So, okay. Before we talk about the king, we're going to scroll down to the Guardians because it's sort of important to go in order with that. So I suppose I should actually move. Well, I don't know. Okay, we'll just do. I'll put another time code here. So it is 7:01 for the time codes. That's gonna be weird. Okay, whatever. The Guardians. There was once a time where Earth and Ilaria lived in conjunction. There was one Guardian on each of the worlds. These Guardians had notebooks to communicate with each other between the worlds. Their duty was to make their worlds a better place. The two Guardians were bonded together so as long as they were both alive, they don't age. So they can take as much time as they need to fix their worlds if something is wrong with them or, things like that. This passing of the notebook occurred for thousands of years. The current Ilarian Guardian is the king. Guardians have their own type of magic which gives them these abilities. They don't age under the condition that their partner is still alive. Their master notebook is infinite. They have unlimited pages, so you can just keep, ripping out pages and whatever. They can travel between the worlds freely and open. Okay, let me just repeat that. They can travel between the worlds freely and open the world portal. And fourth, they can communicate with the lost souls, people who died with damaged souls. So basically, the king's victims and other stuff like that. Okay. So that's the Guardians. Should we do the Q&A now for the Guardians, or should we go back to the king and then... I don't know. Let's just do the Guardians Q&A now. What do we think? Do we, what questions do we have for the Guardians? Do we have any questions? If we don't have any questions, that's great. But, we'll just, and please keep it about the Guardians. We will answer questions about the characters later, stuff like that. So, I don't even know how bad the stream delay is right now, but... Is that a spider? Must be a spider. Can the Guardians use their powers for evil? Well, of course, that's what the king's doing, so... yeah. Are Guardians different from Whisperers? Yes, so there's a whole section on Whisperers. I think. No, there is a little section about Whisperers. So Whisperers are the king's personal guards. They're not the Guardians. Guardians are just people who are elected. They're two elected people, one from Earth, one from Ilaria, and their sole purpose is to protect the link between Earth and Ilaria. I don't think I actually mentioned this. We changed the name from the Chosen Ones to the Guardians. So if you remember the Chosen Ones, those are now called the Guardians, because the Chosen Ones just sound a little bit weird, so Guardians fits a little bit better. Okay. Can you please release a book about this? Well, I definitely want to do something with this, although we will have to wait and see, because obviously we're nowhere close to doing stuff. So, yeah. We'll see. Are Whisperers basically the Lost Souls? No, Whisperers are completely different. Whisperers is just what... All the Whisperers are is a fancy name for the King's guards. Except nobody knows... I mean, everybody knows that the king has guards. It's just they're also the Whisperers, and the Whisperers, they're the same people, but like the Whisperers spy, not really spy, but they oversee the, I forget what, we changed the name to like the people in charge of the islands, so they are completely different. So, yeah, do the previous Guardians also become Lost Souls when they die? So basically, Lost Souls, I think there is a section on this as well, maybe, I think so. But Lost Souls are just souls that have used a bond, or Lost Souls are just souls that died while having a part of their soul missing. So, if you died while using magic, and your soul wasn't at 100%, you would become a Lost Soul, because some of your soul had been put into using magic, and it just didn't have time to regenerate. So people can die peacefully and not become Lost Souls, but anybody who has a part of their soul missing at any point when they die, then they become a Lost Soul. So that's what the Lost Souls are. So the term Chosen Ones no longer exists. Right. They're just the Guardians now. Chosen Ones are Guardians. They're the same thing. We just changed the name. What happens when a Guardian dies? Oh, shoot. I didn't do the Q&A. Time code. Joke. Let's just put this at like 11 or something. I'll go back and change it later. I always thought the Lost Souls were dead Guardians. Well, that's not necessarily true. They could be, depending on if the Guardians had a part of their soul missing. So, it's not exclusive to the dead Guardians, and it was changed a little bit, because we were throwing around like, well, maybe the Lost Souls are only people that the king, or were only the king's victims, but it was inevitably changed to the Lost Souls being just anybody who lost a part of their soul when they died. So, yeah. Okay, I think... Who were the first two Guardians? We don't know. That's just, like, really old lore that maybe we'll talk about. But since it's, like, so old lore and it would only appear in, like, one sentence in the show at all, maybe, like, if Blake was explaining that, then maybe it would be of use. But we don't really need to talk about it right now. What if Guardians die but don't become Lost Souls? Then, I don't know, nothing really happens. I mean, Lost Souls are just souls floating around in the soul realm, so it's not like they're... The Guardians can communicate with the Lost Souls. So, like, yeah. Okay, are we good with the Guardians? The Lost Souls are for a whole different topic, which we'll talk about again soon, but I'm just saying, like, we should stick to the Guardians. How do you think they usually choose the next Guardians? Okay, so the way that works is, the current Guardians get together and they're like, alright, let's find somebody on Earth and Ilaria who we think would make a good candidate to be the next Guardian. Sort of what the King's doing right now. He's searching for the next King, which would also be the next Guardian. So, that's sort of how that would work. They just sort of get together and decide. So it's like they see, I think this guy would make a good Guardian, and then they train them, and then that's how it is. Can the Guardians free the Lost Souls? I suppose if... The thing with that is that the Lost Souls are Lost Souls because part of their soul is missing. So, I suppose we would have to talk about it because we don't know and it's not confirmed yet. But my guess would be if somebody were to give a lost soul a part of the soul, a part of somebody's soul, then they could sort of like, I don't know what would happen. Maybe they just like go, they can be reincarnated into another body. Maybe that's how that would work. And so maybe that's how they save Callisto. Not exactly sure. But, okay. Are we good? I think we're good on the Guardians. Alright. Was the notebook made by a Guardian? Well, the first Guardians, I assume, we haven't really talked about it, but I assume that the first two Guardians accidentally created a bond with the notebooks, and that's how it became the Master Notebooks. I assume that's what happened. Not entirely sure. We don't even have to really explain it. So, yeah, alright. So, 1611 for the characters part 2. Alright. Let's go back to the characters. So, the king. The king was born to a human father and an Ilarian mother. His mother was one of the Guardians. His father was abusive, which turned into the king hating humanity for all of its wrongdoings. His mother was a Guardian, but she wasn't a ruler, only an advisor, which is really what the Guardians are supposed to be. The king disapproved of this, thinking that things needed to change. So when his mother passed down her notebook to him, and he became the new Guardian, he used his power to take control of all of Ilaria and separate the connection between the two worlds, finally protecting Ilaria from human cruelty. Now obviously not all humans are bad and stuff, so the king was just being biased with what he personally experienced, so that's sort of how that works. The king often got into arguments with his human partner. Eventually, the king killed off his partner, leaving only himself as the Guardian. Now, this would mean that he begins to age again, because one of the Guardian's abilities is that they don't age as long as their partner's still alive. To combat this, the king began killing two birds with one stone. He would search for a new successor, somebody with similar morals and beliefs, and if he didn't like the person he began testing, he would just kill them and take their soul to make himself live longer. He has never found somebody he thinks that can fill the role of the king, and he never really will. And at this point in time, it has been thousands of years since the king killed his partner, still searching for a successor too perfect to exist. To Earth, dragons and elves are just myths, and to Ilaria, humans are simply myths as well. The king continues to search for the perfect successor. So, the king couldn't completely eradicate the existence of humans, and vice versa on Earth, although it didn't really matter on Earth too much. Well, maybe it did. So, the king just like compromised and just was like, okay, well, they're just a fairy tale now. So, that's the king. Blake. When Blake was younger, the king chose him to see if he would make a good successor. After falling in love with the human the king chose as his partner, Callisto, the king took Callisto's soul as a final test to see if Blake would share his values. However, Blake went against the king, tearing his notebook in half in the lobby, which split his soul in two, and we will talk about the lobbies here later. Half of his soul stayed in his original body, and the other half went into Callisto's body. This whole time, Blake didn't know the king was behind of it. The whole time, Blake did not know that the king was behind all of the notebooks and stuff. Now with his soul split, he can no longer perform magic at the level he previously could, and he can no longer travel between worlds. Okay. The king won't know what happened with the notebooks until he sees Luna and Nico's conversations in his master notebook. He also doesn't know that they were split, so in order to learn how to save Callisto, Blake needs to find two worthy people to give the notebooks to. He decides on Luna and Nico, both of which are his students. He sews each half to a random notebook to create two full notebooks, and now Blake has 3 notebooks that are, well, I guess they will be linked together when Luna and Nico activate the link. Okay. Blake teaches Luna's class at Brynor Prep. His students like him, and most even have a crush on him. He's calm and collected and does not get angry easily, but is very irritable. He sees no problem in manipulating people as long as both sides end up happy. His mysterious lone wolf demeanor makes his students curious about his past, but are still too scared to actually confront him about it. Blake is a half-elf and half-demon, which gives him enhanced speed and reflexes, but he hides it due to the fear of demons in Ilaria, because the demons are sort of the people on the Monster Islands. Did we actually have a section on here for the Monster Islands? I hope we did. I'm not sure. Okay. Callisto is Blake's husband. Before his soul was lost, he was Nico's art teacher. Now, Blake has to act like an art teacher in Callisto's body. Before his lost soul was lost, Callisto was very artistic, energetic, optimistic, and cheerful. He is very friendly and can't stand when things are unfair. His strong moral code leads him to enjoy helping others. He was Blake's moral compass before his soul was taken. So, I suppose I should say, this is Blake, this is Callisto. Oh, we don't have art for the king yet. Alright. Xavier. Xavier is Nico's older brother. When Xavier and Nico were little, they would go on adventures until one day Xavier accidentally caused Nico to lose an eye. Ever since, Xavier has wanted Nico to stay safe, but Nico wants nothing more than to experience the same thrill as he did on that day. That day caused Xavier to doubt his choices and himself. Xavier is overprotective of Nico, but doesn't have the confidence to actually stop him. His goal in life is a safe life, free of danger, and to protect those around him. Xavier self-sabotages because he feels responsible for ruining his little brother, so he doesn't deserve to be happy. The problem is that Nico doesn't think of himself as ruined, and he thinks that Xavier is purposefully controlling him and holding him back from doing what he wants. Xavier needs to finally move on and forgive himself instead of constantly trying to fix Nico. This is Xavier. Ellie. Xavier met his girlfriend at the cafe he works at. She sees through his defenses and the excuses he makes in the name of protecting those around him. Her more assertive personality gives Xavier a chance to learn how to be more confident in himself and his decisions. Most people don't understand her, but Xavier and her have a mutual understanding that allows them to support each other. And here's Ellie. Love this art. I love this art. They're so nice. Okay. Kate. Kate is the manager of the cat cafe that Xavier works at. She is very proud of the work she does and is very competitive. This leads Kate to being very protective of the cat cafe and its customers. The regulars appreciate Kate's kindness and will even ask for her advice. Ellie will spend hours in the cafe doing homework or reading or listening to music, just waiting to see Xavier. Ellie is both constantly taking up Ellie is both constantly taking up a whole table just for herself and also giving off unusual vibes to her other customers. Kate and Ellie are constantly at odds, with Kate trying to get Ellie to leave and Ellie just wanting to talk to Xavier. I love the interactions between Kate and Ellie, or at least the interactions in my head. We haven't really talked about it too much after the side character stream. Okay, Adam. Adam is the leader of the parkour and skateboard group called the Irish Eyes. He has a crush on Nico, and Nico always wants to be doing something bigger and better. This causes the others to want to be more like him and puts themselves in unnecessary danger as well. Adam is most affected by this, wanting to impress Nico and get him to like Adam back. Adam even ended up permanently damaging his finger during a stunt trying to get Nico's attention. Xavier doesn't like Adam because he thinks he is a bad influence on Nico, when in reality, it's the other way around. Adam's self-worth comes solely through other people's approval of him. Instead of doing dangerous activities to get Nico to notice him, Adam needs to learn to get his confidence from himself and not others. Adam starts to understand this when he meets the independent loner Durelium. And, oh wow, we got, okay. Forgot that we don't have any art for Adam yet either. Okay, Durelium. Durelium is one of Luna's classmates. He never shows up to class except for on test days. Blake and Durelium have an agreement that he won't get marked down for missing class as long as he can prove himself on the tests. Other people typically wouldn't want to approach him because of his vibe, but he's fun to be around once you get to know him. He's currently training under Blake like Luna is, but Durelium has very different goals. He wishes to become a hitman, taking out bad people who do bad things to good people. This, he thinks, is the best way to earn a quick sum of money using a particular set of skills. Durelium just wants to earn a lot of money while helping people for a short while so he can spend the rest of his life quietly and with ease. Okay, and this is Durelium. He's rocking that pink outfit right there. Okay, Sky. Sky is another one of Luna's classmates. She is a mischievous prankster who's also an underground mushroom pet dealer. I don't know when this got confirmed, but apparently that's a thing. Uh, she loves to get into trouble and challenge authority, but she really just wants attention. Uh, what she needs is people to support her and help her grow. When she's around Nico, she likes teasing him, calling him short, even though he's taller than her, pranking him with magic and getting him into trouble. Most people find Sky annoying, but Nico and her are partners in crime. Luna admires Sky for being so confident and defiant. Okay, Joe is the last character on this list. Oh, and this is Sky. We had like a concept for Sky, but we recently got a Linux just recently did this, and I think it looks awesome. I love Sky's character so much. Okay. Joe is one of the only people Blake has ever considered to be a friend. He used to be a knight, but after getting injured, he retired and became a cook. A running gag in the show is that his name is spelled differently every time and nobody really knows how to spell it. Okay, so that's Joe. Joe's just like a side character that we'll see like 3 times. So, okay. So now we're going to go ahead and move on to the character Q&A, and we are at 26:30. So, questions about any of the characters. We can revisit a character if you want a better explanation, sort of. Although, I mean, these are pretty good descriptions, I think, so far. So, Joe is not the main character. Joe is a side character. Joe appears the least out of all of these characters, probably. You had to leave, so you missed a lot? Well, that's okay, because we're just recapping a bunch of stuff. So it's not like we're talking about a single thing. And you can always rewatch this stream, because there's a lot. Okay. So, I don't know if there will be any questions to be answered, but does Sky have wings? What species was Sky? Was she a dragon? I can't remember. I think she's a dragon, so she might have wings, and that would be one of the ways that she can taunt Luna. So I think she does, but I can't remember 100%. Is there a ritual to become a guardian? Okay, you should have asked this at the Guardian Q&A. We don't know. We haven't really talked about like what the specifics are. It's more of just like a passing down of the notebook, and it's just like the current guardians are like, okay, you are now the new guardian, and it sort of happened. Let's see. Have we? I don't even think there's any more side characters that we didn't talk about here, did we? I don't think there was. What happens if you lose a notebook? Okay, ask that during the notebook Q&A. But well, don't even ask that. I'll answer it right here. If you lose a notebook, then that sucks. You lost the notebook. You gotta try to get it back. I mean, like that's about it. How do Adam and Dorelium meet? That's a good question. Don't 100% know, but it'll probably be something like, I don't know, Dorelium. It depends on if Dorelium goes to Earth or if Adam goes to Ilaria. I'm thinking it's more of Dorelium goes to Earth, because since Dorelium is going to be training with Luna and Nico, he might be like, hey, I want to go to Earth, see what that's all about, and then they might meet there. Thought she was a dragon, but everyone in the chat wanted her to be something else. Well, I don't even remember what Sky's species is. I thought she was a dragon, but I'm not entirely sure. Dorelium steals Adam's skateboard and sells it away? Maybe. That'd be funny. Can you say which characters travel between worlds? Well, here's the thing. All characters will eventually travel between worlds, because that's sort of what the world portals will do and allow for the characters. But as far as before that happens, I would assume that Xavier definitely goes. I'm not sure about Ellie. Probably, I'm not sure if Kate does either. That might happen with the world portal, but not sure right now. Adam, there's a higher chance for Adam. Yeah, Adam will probably go, especially with Dorelium. Sky will probably. Joe, I don't think will, at least in the show. The King will. Nico and Luna will. So, yeah. Will the side characters know about magic, or is it just some? So, if side characters decide to go to Ilaria, so I'm assuming that you're talking about like Xavier and stuff, the side characters are not really having a big impact on the story. Blake, Callisto, Luna, and Nico are the main 4 characters who are going to be taking out the King for the finale, I guess. I don't know why I said final. But Xavier could still learn some magic, and it might be good for him to learn magic, because if he wants to help protect people, he might want to know a little bit of magic. So, side characters can definitely learn magic. Will we focus on it in the show? Not too much, probably. So, will there be cameo characters? I don't know, maybe. Okay, I think... Are we good? Are we good on the character Q&A? Is Kate jealous of Ellie and Xavier? Maybe. Maybe that's why they're rivals so much. Kate's like... I don't know. Maybe. We'll see. That'd be funny. Oh, Julia? She was Nico's classmate? Yeah, well, we haven't had a stream or anything about her yet, but we will. And, okay, keep in mind, guys, that we still have a lot to do. So it's not like these are the only cast. No, like, this is just the very beginning. This is what, the 17th episode? I think so. So, we still have a lot to do. We are nowhere close to being done with this. Who is the tallest? Good question. Either Blake or Luna, I think. Right? I think it's Blake or Luna. Luna's like 5'10", right? Nico's 5'6". Oh, Durellium, maybe. Yeah, actually, I think it's between Durellium and Blake. Not sure. I don't think Xavier's the tallest. Did I see your cake-colored art? I think I did. Yeah, I think I saved it, but... yeah, okay. So, let's go ahead and move on to... We did the Guardians. So now we can talk about bonds. This is interesting. Okay, time code is 3313. Luna's 5'9". Okay. You want Blake to be scary tall, casting shadows on people? Yeah, that'd be funny. Sneaking up on people. Alright. So there's 2 kinds of bonds. Personal bonds and shared bonds. A personal bond is a bond between 2 people through an object. You can create a bond by taking 2 almost identical objects, meaning they have the same material, size, shape, etc., and doing the same motion with them. As an example, having 2 almost identical notebooks and having them both be pulled out of a bookcase at the same time. Whatever happens to one object happens to the other, so if somebody tears a page out of one notebook, the other notebook also loses a page. Personal bonds allow people to share their magic with other people. When someone uses their partner's magic, it uses their mana as well, so you can only perform magic at their own level. Partners can also feel when the other is in pain. They don't feel the pain themselves. It's more of like an instinct or a sixth sense, which I think I like that. Each personal bond has a lobby that is accessible from a portal. The portal is set to the nearest doorway or opening from when the bond is first made. To open the portal, a certain action has to be done to the object. When you're near the portal area, the portal will open. The portal to the lobby will open. I knew that it ended abruptly. If you are not near the portal opening, a different portal will open which goes directly to the other world. In a shared bond, you can only have a portal at the set spot that goes to the lobby. Now, I sort of want to change or / modify how opening portals works, because I'm not sure. I could be convinced to like that, but I think we might. I sort of want to see what we would do with the different thing, but that's for another time. Okay. Shared bonds. A shared bond is when the creator of an original personal bond lends another person their bonded object. The way a shared bond is created is two or more people bonding to an original bond. So, the notebooks that Luna and Nico have are a shared bond. The king has his two master notebooks and his partner's master notebook. These two master notebooks are the original bond that cannot be broken. The way that the king creates extra notebooks is by ripping out the pages of his master notebooks. So the notebooks that he gives to people are just his pages put into another cover. So when he creates two extra notebooks and the two people bonded those, it creates a shared bond. Okay. Conditions of personal bonds. You have a bonded object. You get access to the portals. You can use your partner's magic, you can feel when your partner's in pain, you can only bond to two people, and you can only have one personal bond. Conditions of shared bonds. Your bonded object is lent to you, you have access to lobby-only portals, you cannot use your partner's magic, you cannot feel when your partner is in pain, multiple people can bond together, and you can have multiple shared bonds. Okay. Question is, do we want to separate the lobbies? Like, should we have a Q&A on bond? And we'll just do lobbies, it's all connected. Okay, so lobbies. These are interesting. All lobbies are located in the Soul Realm. A lobby is simply a room with two doors. The doors are for each bonded person. You can bring things to this room and change it up. Staying in the room uses mana, so you can't stay there forever. The King's lobby has an attendant. The king has ordered a lost soul to be there to collect tax for traveling throughout the world. In the lobbies, normal rules don't apply because they are between the two worlds. So mana is manifested in a physical form known as soul shards. This is how the attendant collects more mana for the king. Here's an example of how the lobbies work. Nico is going to travel to Luna's world using his notebook, which is a shared bond. The key to open the portal is ripping out a page. Nico rips out a page and a portal opens at the determined spot, in this case his fridge. Nico goes through the fridge and arrives in the lobby. There he talks to the attendant, and he tells the attendant how long he would like to stay in Ilaria. The attendant then says a price in soul shards, and the king has instructed the attendant to say that when you pay with soul shards, you lose a part of your soul, but it heals back after a couple of days. But in reality, that is not the case. The king is taking a part of their soul as part of a test. If the pair realize that their souls do not heal, then they will pass that section of the test for figuring it out. If not, they are automatically not worthy and will die eventually because they no longer have any soul left. So Nico pays with his soul to travel to Luna's world, and the attendant unlocks Luna's door and Nico walks through. Luna's portal location is her closet, so Nico walks into her room through her closet. And that's how the lobby works. Okay. Personal lobbies are not typically like this. Personal lobbies use up mana while inside, but it's not permanent. The king has set up his lobby to take the souls. Normally, people who are bonded can travel without permanently losing mana. Nico and Luna will eventually bond through a red bracelet, which will be a personal bond, and they will not have to pay extra soul shards. However, if somebody else wanted to use one of their portals without going through the lobby, it would damage them. So, yeah. Although, we'll have to visit more examples of this. So, okay, that's the bond Q&A starting now. So, anybody have any questions for the bonds? A reminder, this is what we have so far. Everything, this entire document could change. So, just saying, this is just what we have so far. It's not permanent. So, if anybody has any suggestions and questions, stuff like that, we are willing to answering the questions. As far as changing things, I don't think we will change things right now. But, I mean, there will definitely be changes in the future. Okay, you don't really get personal bonds. Personal bonds are just a bond between two people. So, like, you just bond. You and your partner both have an object, two objects. For example, Luna has her notebook. Well, actually, this is a bad example because that's a shared bond. Luna has her red bracelet and Nico has his red bracelet, right? They each have a red bracelet and they're bonded to each other through the red bracelet. And so they have these conditions. So, like, they have that bonded object, which is the bracelet. You have access to the portal, so they can open up a portal to their lobby or just to somewhere around their partner. You can use your partner's magic, so it allows for you to use your partner's magic, and that's something that you don't get with a shared bond. You can feel when your partner's in pain. Only two people can bond together, so you can't have Xavier thrown into that mix, and you can only have one personal bond. So Nico can't bond to Xavier as well as Luna, as far as personal bonds go. Supposedly, they could just, create some sort of shared bond with them, though. Okay. Did the shared bond for Nico and Luna come from Blake or the King? So, the King gave Blake and Callisto the notebooks. So the King gave a shared bond to Blake and Callisto. And then Blake passed down notebooks to... It gets confusing. He passed the notebooks down to Luna and Nico. So the original personal bond is still the King's, but the bond was created while it was already linked to Blake and Callisto. So it's kind of confusing because they are all linked together. So you know how shared bonds, you can have multiple people. So Luna and Nico are essentially just linking with Blake as well through the shared bond. So yeah, it's a bit confusing, but it's interesting. Okay. What if someone wants to be solo and doesn't want to be bonded anymore? Well, you could just unbond. We haven't really talked about how that would work, but supposedly you can just unbond. So, can other people write in the notebook? Like, could somebody pretend to be Luna? Now, we will have to talk about that. I think yes, but I'm not entirely sure. So, we will have to see, as well as with the shared bonds versus the personal bonds. Supposedly, with a personal bond, if somebody else goes through the portal, then they could be damaged. However, like, I don't know. It's just, we haven't talked about it fully. So we will have to explore a couple of the nooks and crannies that we haven't exactly figured out yet. But as of right now, I think somebody could write in the notebook. Okay. If personal bonds come from doing a similar action, can there be spontaneous personal bonds that nobody intends? Well, that's why I was in favor of having to be conscious, like, I'm trying to create a personal bond. And so we will have to talk about this further, because I'm in favor for having somebody want to do a personal bond. But as of right now, we don't have that as a requirement. It's just you have to do the same action. So I think we do need to add another condition so that way we can ensure that only intended bonds will happen. Saying goodbye in red ink undoes the bond. Well, you can't have something be that specific because the notebook is just an example bond. Like, you can really bond to any object. So, like, how would that work with a ribbon? Like, I suppose you could write that on a ribbon, but it doesn't make too much sense to. So, it would have to be something else. You should have somebody in mind when you create a bond. Well, that would work for a personal bond, but a shared bond would have to be a little bit different. So maybe for personal bonds, you have to want the bond to be existed, but for shared bonds, actually, that works out quite well, actually. Personal bonds, you have to want to bond with another person, so that way there's no accidental personal bonds. However, with shared bonds, since there's hardly any like personal bonds that, like, shared bonds aren't going to be as popular as personal bonds in the future when bonds are like a more popular thing. Plus, people actually have to get their hands on a personal bond to create a shared bond. So I think that would actually make sense if just doing any action with a shared bond would link them, but not with a personal bond. Does that make sense? So someone could write in the notebook. That could somebody come to Ilaria and then kidnap them? I mean, I suppose, but the idea is that you're not really letting other people, like, get to your notebook. You're trying to keep that, like, that's your own thing, you know? So just be careful. So the notebook is just one type of object that can create a bond, but it can be used for communication unlike other bonds. Exactly. So you just have to be smart with what you are wanting to bond with. Like in Luna and Nico's sake, they could still use the notebook for communication since it is a shared bond. And, I mean, they will get the master notebooks as well. But, actually, we might want to make that another condition of the Guardians, giving them multiple personal bonds, like, or at least making the master notebooks not count as their personal bond, but whatever, that's besides the point. So, I mean, I suppose you don't need a notebook to create a personal bond, but it is nice because whatever happens to that notebook happens to the other person's notebook. So, I mean, the same thing, you could do the same thing with a piece of paper. Write down stuff on the piece of paper and then just erase it in the future. So, yeah, it doesn't have to be a notebook, but that's certainly a possibility. And it's like a smart thing to do because you get multiple functionalities out of it. Does the king have a personal bond after his partner died? So, we have to talk about how a bond ends, because if your partner dying ends the bond, then we would sort of have to talk about, well, are the master notebooks... The master notebooks might not be a bond between the two people. It might be a bond between the two worlds. So then it would just be the Guardians that have control over them. So that way the Guardians could still have the notebooks and they're still bonded through the notebooks, but they can also still have their own personal bond, which would be just between them and another person, versus it being between Earth, Ilaria, and then the two Guardians. So for personal bonds, you can have only one, but for shared bonds, you can have more than one? Yes. So you can have more than one shared bond, but only one personal bond. So, yeah. Okay. Any more questions as far as... Do Luna and Nico have a shared or personal bond? So, Luna and Nico have both a shared and personal bond. Well, not at the beginning. At the very beginning, it's only a shared bond between the notebook. However, later on in the show, Luna and Nico will bond between a red ribbon. And then that will be a personal bond because they don't want to deal with the king and have to, rely on his lobby. They just want to, do it themselves. So, yeah. So they technically have both. And then, yeah. Can someone invite someone to a shared bond? I mean, I guess. Like, for example, that's sort of what Blake did, right? Because Blake's shared bond was between him and Callisto. And what he basically did was say, hey Luna, hey Nico, I'm giving you these notebooks, now you can join our shared bond. And so that's sort of, I think that's an example of what you're talking about. Okay, let's move on. We have, well, I suppose we're close to halfway. So, magic. This is going to be fun. Alright, let's check it out. 50, 51. Let's just do 51. Okay, so the magic basics. Elemental magic is a bond between a person and Ilaria through the element. The magic you get is based off of your genetics and the environment that you were born in. Some people are born without powers, although this is very rare. Humans don't have magic because their genes haven't been activated by Ilaria's field of magic. The type of magic that they get if they go to Ilaria is determined by their genes and environment, just like Ilarians. Personal magic is a bond between a person and another person through an object. It's the sharing of magic through a personal bond. So personal magic is just the magic that you can do with another person if you have a bond. This allows for two people to share their magic with each other. This extends further than just elemental magic, though. They also gain access to the species-specific abilities of that person. For example, let's say a bat person's magical ability is feeling vibrations through their element to locate possible enemies or prey, like echolocation. And a demon can move faster. The bat person can now use the demon's ability, and the demon can now use the bat's ability. This is how we will get more unique and cool powers like speed, light, sound, etc. Certain species will have certain abilities that others can bond to in order to gain those abilities. This won't end up being overpowered because all magic is limited by mana, including this. Okay, so that's the personal magic. Although something was added or changed or something, but I didn't see specifically what that was. Okay, all magic is limited by mana. The more mana you use, the more you start to feel pain. If you use 95% of your mana, you pass out from the pain. If you somehow don't pass out and use 100% of your mana, you go into a coma. If you still don't go into a coma and use more than 100% of the mana, you die. Dun dun dun. The more mana you use, the more pain you feel, but your magic also becomes more powerful and unstable. The increase in power and decrease in stability makes using magic much more likely to damage yourself and possibly those around you. This is to prevent fights from becoming progressively more boring as the fighters use more mana, because they were clowning on me for wanting it to, use less mana as time goes on. Okay, whatever, it doesn't matter. Okay. One of the first spells children learn is a mana shield that surrounds their entire body. This prevents people from using magic inside of somebody else's body because you can't learn this until early childhood. Babies are exceptionally vulnerable and are expected to be protected by their parents or guardian until they can use their mana shield. This does not prevent magic from damaging your body, it only prevents others from using magic inside of your body. People can put shields on other people. Ilarians also have a mana detection instinct which allows them to sense when somebody is nearby without having to see or hear them. Higher level people, like Whisperers, are able to hide their mana so that others cannot sense them. Ilaria has familiars that can slightly boost mana regeneration, healing, and other abilities depending on what type of familiar they are. Some examples of these familiars are Mushroom and Cloud Pets. Don't exactly remember saying that, but I'm fine with that. That's cool. So, types of magic. How much? Yeah, we got a lot of magic stuff here. There's a lot of magic stuff. Okay. Types of magic. All 5 elements have 2 subcategories, creation and manipulation. You can't be both. Fire. Fire users have a higher body temperature and eat more food. Creation allows for the user to create heat and fire by adding heat to the air. Manipulation allows for the controlling of already existing fire. Now, for the record, I do want to change up creation and manipulation a little bit as far as like what each one can do. Although that's for a different stream, so this is what we have for right now. Water users have smoother skin and drink more water. Creation allows for creating water, but only liquid water, not ice or steam. Manipulation allows for moving already existing water. This includes liquid water, mist, clouds, ice, and snow. Earth users have tougher skin and more muscle. Creation allows for creating natural minerals or materials. Manipulation allows for moving already existing natural materials. This includes dirt, sand, stone, and plants. Air users have greater lung capacity and slimmer bodies. Creation allows for the creation of air. Manipulation allows for moving already existing air. All air users can fly and move objects in the air with slight difficulty. Yeah. Okay. I don't know what I was thinking there. I was thinking like, okay, it doesn't matter. Space users are denser and have stronger electromagnetic fields. Creation allows for speeding up the radioactive decay process of elements, making things highly unstable and nuclear. Space creation is the most rare type of magic. Manipulation allows for changing an object electromagnetism, changing how magnetic something is. Different powers are purposefully less/more powerful than others for a greater range of ability throughout the show. Rules of magic. Magic is limited by mana. If you use 75% of your mana, you start to feel a dull pain. 85% general amount of pain. 95% collapse from pain. Only the most strong-willed can still fight at this stage. So basically like the pro knights. 100%. You go into a coma. Greater than 100%, you die. Dun dun dun. Okay. Different magic types cannot be combined/used at once by one person except humans. Different magic types cannot be combined/used at once by one person except for humans. Why? Not exactly sure. Okay, we'll just skip that one for now. Maybe I'm just like, nah, it's not clicking right now. You cannot give your magical abilities to others unless you are bonded. Yeah. Okay. We talked about this is the personal magic stuff. So the genetics of magic. What magic you have depends on what magic your parents have and where you were born. Each person has the potential to learn the magic of their parents, but it's impossible to learn more than one type of magic. Oh, that's what this is talking about. Right, okay, so this is basically talking about, I think, different types of magic as far as like water and air and stuff. You can't use those. Although, I think we changed that, right? So you can't use... Humans can only pick... Well, humans can't pick anything, right? It's just what they were genetically born with, right? So magic types cannot be combined. Right? Okay, well, we'll leave it at that for now. Where were we? The first element you use is what power you can learn. Oh, right. Okay. This is talking about the, yeah. Alright. We got this. Each person has the potential to learn the magic of their parents, but it's impossible to learn more than one type of magic. The first element you use is what power you can learn. So, for example, if a fire and water user had a child, the child has the potential to learn both water and fire. It's just whatever one they first accidentally use is the magic that they are locked in with. However, most people use their magic by a very young age on accident, so there isn't really a choice. Whether you get manipulation or creation magic depends on the environment you are born into. This is to help keep balance throughout all parts of Ilaria. For example, a water user born next to a river would have water manipulation magic, while a water user born in a desert would have water creation magic. So, yeah. Alright, magic in daily life. Fire users can cook and bake food and light up and heat their house. Water users can transport water for baths, wash laundry, and wash dishes. Earth users can grow plants for food and do landscaping. Air users can dry laundry, maintain campfires and ovens, and help with ventilation. Space users can use telekinesis to bring things to them. Mana shields are used by every Ilarian, and this is the first spell taught to children. Mana shields prevent magic from being used inside of another person's body, so a water user won't be able to fill somebody's lungs with water if that person has a mana shield. Before children learn how to use a mana shield, their parents or guardian do it for them. A mana shield is not permanent, so it's constantly using up mana, but it never drains your mana faster than it heals. The only time using a mana shield will drain your mana faster is when using it on more people, like a young child. Nannies, nurses, and parents of many children are people who typically find it easier to use multiple mana shields because they do it very often. After using a mana shield consistently for a few years, people do it unconsciously, even in their sleep. The only time when somebody would turn it off is if they want to, or if they become a commodity. Magic in combat. Fire users can burn their opponents. Water users can drown their opponents. I feel like this is pretty self-explanatory stuff. Earth users can trap their opponents in the ground and use it for a quick getaway. Air users can fly to evade attacks, blow their opponents off their feet, and cut them with high-pressure wind. Space users can charge objects to be attracted to their opponents. Okay, so there's this magic document that was made by PD, and that's why I sort of want to change the creation and manipulation. I think what the creation should do, I think creation cannot manipulate objects that can only do spells, and manipulation can only do manipulation and cannot do spells. That's what I want to do, because I feel like it would add for more balance, and it would actually make the spells make a little bit more sense. That's not how it is right now, but that's what I want to change it to, so we'll see how that goes later. Yeah, I remember putting that in there. I'm just saying it was pretty self-explanatory. All right. Origins of magic. Magic comes from the planet Ilaria, which is channeled through the soul and mana. Mana is how people create and manipulate their element. Volatite, I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, repels magic, so touching Volatite directly will cause symptoms including headaches, pain, nausea, and difficulty performing magic. These symptoms are increased the more skilled somebody is in magic. That's not the same thing that floats Ilaria, is it? I thought was that a different thing? It is the same thing? Okay. Well, we might want to change. I don't know. We'll talk about that later. Magic training. The more you push your limits of your magic and mana, the more you learn to control your magic and the more mana you can generate. Some people start with a greater affinity for magic and amount of mana, but magic and mana training is about the same. Generally, there is no defined way of determining how good somebody is at magic, since there are many different factors that go into how someone uses magic. There is also no defined way of determining how much mana somebody has used. It's more vague, like when you work out you start getting dizzy and if you use too much strength. Having the amount of mana somebody has left more vague gives more creative control over fight scenes. Okay. We still got a whole page left. Okay, side effects of magic. Magic is limited by mana. Wait a minute. We already did that. Wait, we're at magic. No, we already did magic. Okay. We did this. Is this just a repeat? I feel like we already had that. Yeah. That's just a copy and paste. Okay. There are also element-specific side effects. Fire users will start to feel cold. Water users will become thirsty and their skin will feel dry. Earth users will feel physically weak. air users will have a shortness of breath, and space users will feel unbalanced. When you use a lot of your mana, your magic will become more powerful, but also more unstable. So, if you can do more with your magic as you run out of mana, the chances that you will get hurt increase as well. This is to make sure fights increase in excitement and tension throughout the fight without decreasing. I feel like we already had that sentence before, it's just reworded. Okay. Characters using magic. Let me drink some water here first. Okay. We got the water. Luna. Water manipulation. Luna was born... Oh, I guess I didn't read this up. Characters using magic. Luna was born next to a river in Brynor. She uses her magic to help her parents wash clothes and clean for her business, or for their business. She can use water on a rainy day as an umbrella to prevent her from getting wet. There could be a scene where Nico drops his phone in water and freaks out, until Luna realizes water is bad for phones and takes out all of the water. Fire creation. Being a human, Nico unlocked his fire magic when he first came to Ilaria. He didn't realize he had powers until he accidentally set a piece of Luna's clothing on fire from shock. His favorite move is Fireball. Ever since he's learned fire magic, he started eating more and has become less sensitive to the cold because he has a higher body temperature. Blake, space manipulation. Blake's soul being split in two, or with Blake's soul being split in two, he cannot perform magic at the level he previously could. The most he can do right now is pull object towards him within close range. When he can do his full magic, his favorite spell is charging an object with a large amount of electromagnetism, which makes whatever the object was a sphere and will attract anything that goes near it. When thrown, like a gravity ball will go. When thrown, the gravity ball will go in a spiral mid-air, pulling things along with it until it finally falls into a pile on the ground. Blake must cancel the spell to stop the ball from attracting other things, or until he runs out of mana and dies. Okay. The King, space creation. I didn't know. Was he always space creation? I didn't remember that. Because, of course, the main villain has the rarest and most powerful type of magic. Oh, of course, he has the most rare and powerful type of magic. Alright. But this isn't just for the sake of the trope. Since the king hates humans, who can't use magic until they go to Ilaria, it's good symbolism that the king would have the most powerful magic, contrasted to humans who have no magic. Sky, air manipulation. Sky uses her magic to mess with Nico by pushing him around in the air. Okay, nice. Alright. How long was that? That felt like a long time. So, that was the magic. Now, we're moving on to the magic Q&A. So, 108. Or 1 hour. Wait. 10800. There we go. Actually, let's make this like 30. Timestamp. Yep. Adding the timestamp so that way I don't have to like watch through the entire stream. So, questions for the magic Q&A, or for the magic system, I guess. It is a magic Q&A. Yeah, okay, so things with magic are still like we're still figuring stuff out with that, so okay, so as far as the language goes, both Ilarians and humans speak English. And that's just to help keep consistency throughout the show. Although there could be, like, if there's an elven, like an ancient elven language on Ilaria, people could still speak that, but everybody still speaks English. So that way there's no, like, issues with that. And so, yeah. Earth is still a term that Ilarians know. They know what it is. They just don't know that it is a planet that used to be linked with them. Okay, so like I said with the magic, I think that the creation users should only be able to do spells, and that the manipulation users should only be able to manipulate magic. So the spells would be a lot more complex, but they wouldn't have the luxury of, like, you know, manipulating water from a stream kind of thing. So it's like, I don't know. To me, that just seems more interesting. But yeah, can somebody who is parents of fire and water somehow get steam magic? No, we are doing a hard magic system and not like a combined magic system. So you either get fire or water. So no in between. Alright. Well, nobody's... I mean, I guess we did have some good Q&A sessions, but... I mean, I suppose most of the Q&A probably happened in the stream. We're just recapping what we had already talked about, so... That's to be expected. Well, it wouldn't be nature magic because it also deals with the dirt. So you couldn't call earth magic nature magic because nature implies that it's only living things. And so it wouldn't necessarily be... Earth just is a better term. But people could probably create steam if two people with fire and water magic combine it together, right? Okay, so say, for example, this hand is a fire creation user's hand, and this hand is a water creation user's hand. And they both, you know, shoot their stuff, and then they create steam. That could totally work. That's just one of the ways to use the magic that they produce / manipulate. Can people who have air magic be able to breathe in space? If they are air creation, probably. If they are earth manipulation, or not earth. If they are air manipulation, probably not. Because that's essentially just the same thing as having a tank and feeding it through your mouth versus creating it in your mouth. So probably earth creation's good. Well, they would die anyway because of the pressure. Well, you would still need a spacesuit, yeah, but like, just hypothetically. And I mean, it's not like we're going to be going into space in the show at all. It's like, there's no real point into doing that, I don't think. Unless if the final battle's in space or something. But yeah, alright. Are we good on the magic Q&A? We're over halfway done. And we've got 40 minutes until... We did have a little bit of a late start. But we still got about 45 minutes. Can earth magic people control minerals in the body? If the user... Well, no. Earth isn't like living humans. It's more plants. So, no. But if we were going to turn that to, can a water magic user manipulate water inside of somebody's body, the answer would be no if they are using a mana shield, which everybody pretty much is. However, if for some reason somebody's not using a mana shield, then yes, they would be able to like take out the water from your body. So, can humans use magic on Earth? Okay, so we're still talking about that because we're having some debates with that. But I think what makes the most sense is that once Earth and Ilaria are linked again and the world portals are open, and then there's a when Luna and Nico are eventually the new Guardians, I think that humans should be able to do magic on Earth. Okay, I think we're ready to move on. Can't airbenders just delete oxygen? Well, I suppose they could just say, like, here's a patch of air, and I'm just going to remove it, but the air would just fill back in. So it's not like... You would have to be constantly removing air from a certain patch of area. So... I suppose technically, but it wouldn't be forever. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the government. We got 1, 15, and 41. So, the government. So, Ilaria is divided up into 9 provinces. Each of these provinces consists of one main island and possibly other smaller islands, and is run by a viceroy. The provinces are divided up into districts, each being run by a cardinal. The districts are then divided up into towns, cities, and villages, each being run by a mayor. The higher power chooses who should be in the lower positions, although the king has the final say if needed. The flow of power goes like this: king, whisperers, and we are getting to the whispers here, viceroys, cardinals, and mayors. Oh, nice arrows. I like that. Okay. The Whispers. I absolutely love the Whispers. The Whispers are the 9 most powerful knights in all of Ilaria. They are so high level that they can hide their mana so that other people can't sense when they are nearby. They work for the king, taking orders directly from him. They will sneak around and spy on other government officials, telling them what to do if they think something... if they think they are doing something that the king would not like. The government officials are scared and annoyed by how much power they have. The Whisperers are how the king can use his power without leaving his castle. The king gives each Whisperer a piece of paper from the master notebook so that they can communicate with him when they are going off to other provinces. The Whisperers are what the government officials know them as, but what the government officials don't know is that the Whisperers' true identities and the fact that they are also... But what the government officials don't know is that the Whisperers' true identities and the fact that they're also the elite knights. Okay. Yeah, so basically Whisperers are the king's elite knights. And the elite knights are the king's group of like 9 Whisperers. So knights and Whisperers, they're the same people, but nobody knows that they are the same people, right? The citizens of Ilaria don't even know that the Whisperers exist. Yeah, so basically the only people that know are, you know, the viceroys and maybe the cardinals. Probably not even the mayors know they exist. So, yeah, that is the Whisperers, the knights. The elite knights are the 9 best knights in Ilaria. They are in charge of 2 different sections of knights, the domestic knights and the military knights. The domestic knights are The domestic knights are comprised of the grand knights, the noble knights, and the patrol knights. The grand knights are knights for each viceroy and are in charge of the noble knights. The noble knights are for each cardinal and are in charge of the patrol knights. The patrol knights are for each mayor and are like everyday police. The flow of the power goes like this: elite knights, grand knights, noble knights, and patrol knights. So basically these are just like bodyguards for the noble people up here. Although the patrol knights are just like the everyday policemen. So yeah. The military knights are comprised of the military knights are comprised of the militia knights. There we go. The militia knights, the scouting knights, and the trainer knights. Militia knights go to the monster islands and fight the monsters. They're in charge of the scouting knights who explore unknown areas. Trainer knights are retired knights who teach beginners how to be knights, and the flow of power goes like this: elite knights, militia knights, scouting knights, and trainer knights. You can become a knight by competing in tournaments. You can go up in rank by challenging another knight to a duel. Whoever wins gets the higher rank. Knighthood and chivalry is a course students can take to better prepare themselves for tournaments. Okay, that's the knights. So, on to the knight Q&A. We are at 1:20. Boom, boom. All right. Government Q&A. Anybody got any questions? If I could pick one power to have, what would you pick? As far as the show, I would probably pick Some sort of manipulation. I would probably pick air manipulation, maybe? Go over the Monster Islands? What? Wait, where's the Monster Islands? Oh, I guess they weren't added. Okay. Right? I didn't skip over them, they just weren't added. Okay. We'll go over the Monster Islands after the government Q&A. Q&A. Do the Whisperers influence the king? They can, but the king has the final say. So the Whisperers could be like, hey, king, we have a suggestion for you. Here's what we think you should do based on what we saw. And then the king could be like, I like that idea. Or, no, I don't like that. So, yeah. Can a knight refuse to rank up? I would assume so. I would hope so. Probably. What was Blake's role as a knight? That's a good question. What was he? Was he a... I don't think... Would he? Blake should be a militia. Okay. That's cool. And since Blake is now a demon, he can be, like, he can learn from the demons there. On the Monster Islands. Alright, so I guess to answer your question, Blake was a militia knight. So, there you go. Do patrol knights investigate murders? Yeah, probably. That's what I would assume. Could go elite, but didn't want to go because he likes going to the Monster Islands. Well, possibly. I don't know. It depends on if there are... It depends on how many knights are in the elite knights. Because if the elite knights are just comprised up of the 9 knights that oversee the different islands and are the Whisperers, then that would mean the king would have to exchange out an elite knight if he was wanting to keep the same number, which I don't know that he would do. Unless he had if he had, like, say for example, like 15 elite knights and only 9 of them were for islands, and then the rest of them did not know about the Whisperers, then that could work. If the ranking is by beat them all up. Well, the elite knights would be the, like, main exception for that, I think, because the king would probably intervene if they were, that is, if they were part of the Whisperers. So, yeah. Do the Whisperers see the king as a god too? I would assume so. I guess we never really talked about that. People in Ilaria see the king as this god, and they were raised and born to believe that he is, and so nobody really questions him. Although there are some people that question him, so yeah, that is a thing that happens. But most people are just like, well, life is pretty good, so yeah. Okay, well, we can make the elite knights be, you can join the elite knights. It would just mean that there are more elite knights than there are Whisperers, and so that would just sort of, you know, the king would have the Whisperers that stay like that forever, and so they don't talk about it in the elite knights, so they would sort of be separate. Do people ever question that the king was alive for thousands of years? Well, they just like say, well, he's a god. Of course he's been alive for thousands of years, you know? He's the most powerful man. He can do all the different elements and things because he can just use the souls, the lost souls. The Whisperers can blend into the crowd when they aren't in uniform, so it's like a guessing game. Where's the Whisperer? Fun game for the audience. Yeah. Yeah, that could work. That would be fun. Although that would only happen after the audience knew that the Whisperers were a thing. So. No one was ever taught to murder the king. Oh, did anybody ever think to murder the king? Well, I'm sure since there are rebels and stuff, like people, there's probably a couple of people who want to have murdered the king, but there's no way they could because he's just too powerful, you know? Does this mean the king can or will live forever? Well, technically, if the king keeps harvesting souls, he could live forever. And if he still had a partner for the chosen one, or not for the guardians, we changed the name. Uh, he would live forever until they were ready to pass it down. As far as will he live forever, no, he won't, because the reason why he's looking for a new successor is because he's like, well, I've done my part here. I just need to find somebody else who's like me so I can train them and then I can just be done. He's like, I'm ready to die. Okay. Are we good on the government slash knights stuff? Do we have any more questions about that? Because if we don't, we're going to move on to the Monster Islands. The government is quite confusing if you haven't seen it yet. What's the difference between Knight, Whispers, and King? Okay, well, the king is the supreme ruler. The knights are the people who protect the people in power and who go and who act as the military and police people. The Whisperers are basically copies of the king as far as they go and make sure that everybody's doing everything that the king would want. It's just they're not the king. Are there different clan-like things that like try and fight the king or something, or is it more casual like a neighborhood watch? As far as fighting the king goes, nobody actually manages to fight the king. It's more of just like protests, like we don't like the king or something. Although I don't know why people would do that, but people are just like, the king's too suspicious or whatever. So they're just like, we want a new king, or we want a change of this, change of that. So it's not like they're actually successful as far as like doing damage to the king, because there's just not enough of them. How do people become king? Well, right now the king makes it to where you can't become king. The current king has been king for thousands of years. So, yeah, well, most people do worship him as a god. So the people who are like, well, we don't like the king, something's weird about him, they are very few people. So it's not like it's that big of a deal for the king. It's just like, okay, we'll shoo them away. The government is like robots that are under the king's control, right? Well, not entirely, actually. The king is actually a pretty good leader as far as, you know, like giving citizens rights, and that's why that's why people still worship him as a god and don't try to overthrow him, you know, because he does his job well, right? Is he is the viceroy of his own island, along with the other 8 islands that there are other viceroys for. So, I mean, sure, the king is the head and he's the king, but there's also other people in the government that also make decisions. So, like, there are some like laws that go across all of the 9 different islands, but each of the different islands can have different rules and regulations based on what their viceroy wants, and then some of that rule making power could go down to the cardinals and then down to the mayors too. So yeah, it's not a monarchy, it's a theocracy where the deity is right in front of your eyes. Is there a queen? No, the king is single. Can the people not follow the rules of the king if he is not doing good and crashing the whole place? Well, they could. I mean, in theory, if everybody ganged up on the king, they could probably take him out. Well, I mean, that's sort of what will happen with Luna and Nico. But, I mean, if there was enough riots and stuff, the king is going to be like, okay, well, obviously we need to make some changes here. Because he's not trying to, like, torture the people of Ilaria. He's not that bad of a guy. It's just, you know, Earth and Ilaria are meant to be linked, and they are, because linking will be beneficial to both, because Ilaria's dependence on magic is getting too great, and Earth's dependence on technology is also getting too great. So by dispersing magic to Earth and Ilaria, and by dispersing technology from Earth to Ilaria, it sort of evens things out as far as making things good. And the current king just doesn't want to do that. And so that's why he needs to be overthrown. Plus, he's sort of like killing people to make himself live longer. So that's also a thing. Yeah. Yeah, he's a good king, and that's why people don't riot against him too much. It's just he is doing some things that are bad. So. And we can have him go like slightly crazy at the end because he's like, I haven't found the perfect person yet. I cannot die. And then he goes into like a giant rampage and whatever. But yeah. All right. Are we ready to talk about the Monster Islands? Did we do enough for the government? Monster Islands are fairly similar to the government. You know what? We also did not have a section on the world, as far as that there were 9 islands. All right, whatever. Well, we can talk about that a bit here. Okay, so we are at 131. Actually, let's just make it 32. How old is the king? He's thousands of years old. Okay, so this is not on the document because I guess we forgot to put it on. But Monster Islands are islands that, well, I think it's a group of 4 different islands that make up about the size of one of the main islands. There are 9 main islands on Ilaria in which people inhabit. And then there's 4 monster islands, well, 4 main monster islands that are broken, that have like extra islands around them and stuff. Anyway, those islands are islands that monsters live on. And so these monsters they raid Ilaria and they try to get food and whatever they do there. And then people from Ilaria try to go take out the monsters because, you know, the monsters are raiding Ilaria. So it's sort of like a back and forth kind of thing. Now, the people on the monster island, they can consist of like goblins, whatever else we want to put there, and most importantly, demons. Now, goblins and other creatures like that, they don't have the same intelligence as most Ilarians do. So they don't know, like, they would just stay on their own island if they didn't know any better. But since they have demons there, demons have the same intelligence, if not greater or just a little bit less, than people on Ilaria. So that makes them a threat because they can build stuff, they can learn magic, they can experiment with stuff. So they basically are like, they have controlled the monster islands and basically command the lower life forms to go and attack Ilarians. And since the demons are powerful, they have speed, and they just have physical enhancement boosts. That's their species magic. So if one happens to go over to Ilaria, it puts up a pretty big fight, and they have to call in some pretty strong knights in order to take a demon out. So yeah. Is that good on the monster island? I don't know what else to say for them, because I think that's good, right? I think we should probably, let's just move on to the questions. 1, 34, 40. Is there a ruler of the monster island, or does the king rule it? Okay, the king does not rule it. The king is trying to get rid of the monster islands, only really because they are coming after them. If they lived peacefully, I think the king would just be like, fine, whatever, just, you know, let them live. But the ruler would be some sort of like demon king, who is like the head of the demons, since the demons are, you know, the controllers of the, you know, goblins and whatever, you know. So yes, there is one like king on the monster islands. Whether or not we will focus on the Monster Islands too much, I do want to have some sort of Monster Island arc. Whether or not they will play that big of a role as far as like demons and whatever, that's up for debate. One idea that was thrown out is that they, like, Luna and Nico will team up with the demons to try to crash the King's Palace. And so, I don't know, maybe we'll see. Maybe that's a thing that happens. Maybe not. Who knows? Just depends on where we want to take the story, but that's for another stream stuff. So, okay. Any more questions on the Monster Islands? Not seeing any. Okay. Now we're going to move on to the small story summary. Oh, are we doing the character arcs in this stream? I don't know. I don't know if we have decided to do this or not. So I will look at that. Well, 36 and 50. Okay, story. So the very basic summary is that Nico and Luna are each given a notebook. They talk to each other and become friends. They will eventually go to each other's planet, and Nico will start to learn magic. They become friends with Blake and save Callisto, of course, after they have a fight with Blake because, you know, they think he's evil or whatever. And then the four of them will have an epic showdown after they save Callisto with the king. And then Nico and Luna are chosen to be the next Guardians. And then the link between Earth and Ilaria will have been restored. And the people can now go between Earth and Ilaria for fun and whatever if they want to live somewhere else. It's cool. Are we still having questions as far as the... Okay, ask them again when we do a general Q&A, because there will be a general Q&A for all unanswered questions at the end of this. So ask them again then. Okay. Mr. Fruit, are we doing the character arcs here? Since we didn't really talk about them, I thought we were saving them for a different stream. Sorry, you're just not caught up. Well, this recap stream, we didn't get, like, you can't recap everything that happened in a stream, but this is like the most important stuff that has happened. Like, this is just the master document that should contain most of the stuff. Now, obviously there wasn't, and we will have to add to it as far as, like, adding the actual information for them, the Monster Islands and Ilaria's world and stuff like that. So there is some stuff that we forgot to add, but it's okay. We will add to it, and this document should continue to be updated. So I will have a link in the Discord to this document so that you guys can view it. It's from Page Turner Notes. Well, okay, here's the thing though, right? Since this is a recap stream, don't we want to just only do recap stuff and not really introduce anything new? Don't we want to do that? Isn't that a better idea? So that way we're, like, not being confused anymore. We're only talking about stuff that is pretty much confirmed, or saying that stuff is not, I don't know. Okay. I don't know, do we want to go over the character arcs? I'll leave that up to you guys. We can go over the character arcs. Well, actually, story Q&A. Does anybody have any questions over the story? Because That's the first thing that we need to do. Then we can do the character arcs. Story Q&A time. How will it begin? I don't know exactly how, like, what the episode will look like when it begins, because most of that stuff is for, like, you know, when we're actually closer to writing out full episodes. But, the first episode, I assume Luna and Nico will get the notebook and create the bond and start talking to each other a little bit. But, this is all stuff for when we're actually like, okay, what do we want to have in the first episode, which is far down the line because we have a lot more to do. So, yeah. Okay, I'm just going to move on to the character arcs. Let's take a time code check. 141. Alright, so as far as the character arcs go, these aren't... We haven't ever talked about these before. These are just suggestions/ideas. The King's betrayal should affect Luna's character's arc by questioning her pleasing nature. Nico's character arc should focus on him learning to let others care for him. These two arcs contrast nicely. Luna can learn to be more selfish and take herself into account, while Nico can learn that having someone care for you isn't such a bad thing, and that putting yourself into danger won't always work out. When they first become a team, it works, but Luna being the people pleaser and Nico not letting Luna care for him as a partner causes problems like coordination and communication between the two. After they develop more as characters, they start to change and understand each other, which leads them to being an actual good team. A possible catalyst for Nico's arc is that he does something that puts Luna in danger. This leads him to understand why people worry for him, and now he feels how Xavier feels after his eye accident. Another possible character arc moment for Nico could be his cat dying. The cat could be a comic relief throughout the whole show, always getting into trouble and Nico always having to end up saving it, so the audience never feels like the cat is in any real danger. This reflects how Nico is always putting himself in danger without regard to how others feel. One day, Nico can't save the cat and it dies, showing that always getting in trouble like he does isn't good for those that care about him. I actually like that idea with the cat dying. That'd be like a sad moment, because it's like people just don't expect it to die, and then when it actually does die, it's like, wow. Okay. A possible lifelong career for Nico could have something to do with government or entrepreneurship. After Nico's arc, he learns that putting himself in danger isn't always the best idea, but he still keeps his risky behavior. He would like a career that tests his mental strength while not putting others in danger. Oh, and physical danger. Well, I mean, the thing is, though, right? I would assume that the Guardians is like a full-time job, so I don't know how well that would work, but possibly. Okay, story arcs we're going to do later, right? I think we're doing story arcs later, because we haven't... Those are, like, not confirmed at all. Yeah, let's do those later. So, take a time code, 44 and 20. Any questions on the character arcs? And I think that's the last section. So we'll do questions on the character arcs, and then we will do a general Q&A to where you can ask whatever question about Page Turner that you want, and I will do my best to answer it. Can I write in the future flashbacks for Blake and Callisto? Sure. Or do you want to write them in at? If they're not confirmed yet, put them in Discord, or put them at the bottom of this document. Let's leave the top of this document for stuff that is confirmed, and then like stuff below here that stuff is like ideas and whatever. Maybe we can add a line. Okay, I have had no questions about the character arc so far. So, we are going to move on to the general Q&A. It is 1:45. 36. Okay, general Q&A. Anybody have any general page-turner questions about the future of this show? About who the heck is Nico? Whatever. Good with whatever. I will say though, we used our time wisely. There's no way I can make a recap video of this, because like I would only be able to cut out maybe like 20 or 30 minutes of time, which isn't worth it at that point. Is it being published anywhere? No, not necessarily. I'm open to looking into. Somebody sent a 3D design animation software that I would be open to learning if we wanted to do it. And we have established before that if I was contacted by anybody like at Disney or Netflix or whatever, if they were like, hey, we want you to work on this show, I would accept. We already discussed that. So if I was asked to turn this into a show, I would accept. We've decided that. As of right now, haven't got anybody, contacting me or whatever. And as far as like turning it into a comic, either a comic, a story, as far as like a book, or like a fan animated sort of thing where it's like a mashup, or like it's just me animating 3D stuff. It's possible. I definitely want to, if not turning it into a full like book kind of thing, I would want to write scripts for episodes. So there would be that, and then you could read the scripts for the episodes, and then we could even voice act it too. Turn it into a animatic, maybe. I don't know. Okay. Is the soul how we see it in person, or is it just mana? It is not a soul. So as far as in the soul realm, I think what the souls should look like, because the souls in the soul realm can take up physical bodies, but for the most part, souls are just floating around in the soul realm. You know, they have nowhere to go. They're just lost. So what I think it should look like is a white face that resembles a face that of the person. So like, for example, Callisto's soul would look sort of like Callisto's face, but it would just be like floating around. But if commanded to by the Guardian, it could take a physical form, which is what the attendant is. The attendant is just a lost soul with a human form, sort of. Vote Aiden for king? Yeah, I'll voice act the king if you want. If you train, you make more mana. If mana is the soul, you train to make more soul. I suppose, I don't know how to respond to that, because I guess technically, I think maybe instead of saying it like that, it's just doing magic takes less of your soul, and it's not, I don't know, I'll let Mr. Fruit answer that one. Okay. Can we put a crystal of life in the show where it keeps everything at balance? Well, the things keeping balance is the Guardians. They're the balance keepers. So how do bonds work so that Blake is split? Blake is split because he sort of like glitched the system. And so when he split the notebook, it was I think the way we first explained it was that the lobby was sort of gonna collapse, maybe, because it was unstable, And so it was trying to send Blake's body back. But also, since it's the soul realm, his soul was sort of like divided up a little bit. So his body got sent back, his soul was still there, and then his soul got split into two because Callisto, who was also somebody who had access to the lobby, was on Earth, but Blake's body was on Ilaria. So his soul got split into two and got put into each separate body. I think, isn't that sort of similar to what we had talked about like really early on? That was a really early on concept. So, yeah. Use a ton of mana, but when you're done using mana, you use the soul. No, that's not really how it works. Mana and the soul, I don't know. Yeah, we'll have to work more on that. Like I said, this is all stuff that we are still developing, so... yeah. Okay. Any more questions for the general Q&A? Because, I mean, after that, is there much else to do? I mean, that's pretty much everything, I think. And we are pretty much right on track. Discuss what the next stream will be. Of course. Of course. Let me add an outro section. Is this like a season 1 concept? Or, well, most of this stuff is for all of the... this concept is for the entire show. So we don't exactly know how long it will be. But it is just... like, you know, there's a lot of stuff here. So, yeah, alright. So, let me get the outro, because I think we are done on the questions. Just nobody sent anything else. Okay, so as far as what we're doing next stream, we can go through the ideas in the Discord. We can do story arcs, which would basically be like what we want each of the main arcs to be throughout the story. So, like, for example, the intro arc, and then like the Saving Callisto arc, and then the final battle arc, and stuff like that. Monster Islands. We already had a Ilaria world building stream, did we not? Well, actually, there is still a lot more we could do with Monster Island, so we could do a Monster Island stream. I can also look through the stream ideas if we need to. What else do we need to do? What's our next priority? That's awesome. It'll be a nice birthday celebration, I suppose. We have... what do we need next? I mean... there's still a lot of Ilaria world building we need to do. As far as, like, what the towns sort of look and feel like, what goes on in the towns, you know, life, I suppose, I don't know. Can't wait to make more stories. Yeah, I know, we have to do world building. We're on the world building phase. So... alright, what are we doing next stream, guys? I need suggestions and, you know, what you want. So, we've got your options, or suggest something different. That's good too. We can go through the ideas on the Discord. We can... story arcs. We can do story arcs, which is actually kind of important, because then we can sort of map out what goes on in each story arc. Monster islands, other kind of world building stuff. What do we want? Okay, well, we can't do story arcs and Discord catch up. We gotta do one topic. So either story arcs or Discord catch up. Poll? No, we don't need a poll. I don't think we need a poll. What do you mean catch up? This stream was the catch up thing. Are you talking about the Discord catch up? As far as going through? Not... Okay, well, I'm fine with whatever. We just need to... Okay, I've seen multiple Discord things. So why don't we just go with the Discord? Okay, how about next stream? We go through the Discord idea collection and we sort of... I don't know, it'll be weird. It'll just be like a big mashup between going through Discord ideas and answering and asking questions and just questioning life about Page Turner. Okay, that's what we'll do. Next stream will be about Discord idea collection. So if you're not in the Discord, go join the Discord because that's good. And yeah, I think that's it for this stream. I think I'll be adding time codes momentarily. I don't know if the time codes will work exactly with what I put because it was going based off of my OBS settings and not the YouTube settings. So hopefully everything works out fine. And I don't have to go in and like add 10 minutes to everything, but who knows? We'll see. Okay, anyway. Yeah, that's it for the stream. I will talk to you guys later. Remember the reminder, no recap episode because this whole stream was a recap. So, yeah, nothing on Tuesday. Sorry. That's okay. There will be another one though. So, yeah. All right. See you guys later. Thanks for joining me again this weekend. Have a good rest of your day.